This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
So Russ, today I'm going to talk about a really high-profile case from the early 2000s. Now, back then, you weren't paying attention to the news or true crime, so I'm sure you don't really know all the details of this case. It's kind of interesting because you can see the case from totally fresh eyes without the media getting in your head. I'm interested to hear what you think. This is the case of the murder of Laci Peterson. Everybody, welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband all my favorite true crime stories and he reacts to them.
What's up, everyone? I'm getting in trouble today. I know it.
No, you're not. You're not going to get in trouble. I'm actually really excited to tell you about this one because I really want to hear your opinion. I'm actually excited to hear your opinion.
Wow. Because you never are. Okay.
So, okay. First off, you don't really remember this case, do you? The case of Laci, Connor, and Scott Peterson.
I don't really remember anything unless it happened on ESPN. I remember stuff from there.
Because this happened in 2002, so you weren't a kid. You were an adult at that point.
2002, when I was born.
Yeah, you were an adult.
Yeah, I was trying to do some math. Yeah, I wasn't an adult, but I was young still.
I mean, you were in your early 20s, I think. Because I was 17 or 16 or 17, so you had to be 20, 21.
Then I was 20.
Yeah.
Stop giving my age away.
Sorry. So anyway, it's kind of funny to me that you literally know nothing about any true crime ever. It's like it's fun for me because I get to tell you the story.
Yeah, whoever's here, unless they hit a home run or made it to the playoffs, I don't know who they are.
I know, it's fun.
I mean, the only murder, I know Ray Lewis killed someone. I know some things like that.
It's just funny that you don't really know any of these high profile cases. So I've pretty much intentionally stayed away from a lot of high profile cases just because they're very overdone. There's podcasts about them that are devoted to them. But I decided to do a high profile case today because I'm really curious to hear your opinion. And also it's kind of related to a case that came back up in the headlines this week. January 13th was the anniversary of when Hae Min Lee went missing from the Adnan Syed and Hae Min Lee case, the one that Serial podcast did.
Guilty.
And that podcast is what stemmed my obsession with true crime podcasts. And you, in particular, think that Adnan is 100% guilty and it's not even a question in your mind, correct?
Yeah, from like his personality, and he's okay with being in jail right away. I don't think he should be in jail because there's not enough evidence, but I think he did it. Like, according to the evidence, he shouldn't be in there. There's not enough to put him in.
But you have this like gut feeling, is that what it is?
Oh no, I profiled him.
That you think that he
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm all right being in here. Like, I'm
But
okay
is that
with
the
it.
only thing, just because he's all right being in jail? That's the only thing?
He speaks casually and nonchalantly. Like, he just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people agree with you because we did a poll on Instagram and pretty much 50-50, it came back. There were about 100 people that responded, and it was like 48 people said that he's guilty and 50 people said he's innocent. So a lot of people
50 dumb followers.
A lot of people agree with you.
So all 50 of you was wrong.
No.
48 of you, congratulations. The other 50, congratulations. You played yourself.
No, because I don't know if I think that he's guilty. I can't decide. I honestly can't decide. I can't figure out what I believe. I've listened to Serial 3 times trying to figure it out, and I can't.
Listen a little. I listened to the whole thing, but sometimes I was busy like doing stuff, so I don't really remember it that well. But I remember his interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there have been a lot of people that have been in jail for a really long time, and they kept professing their innocence, and eventually they get out if they're really innocent. He's probably not professing his innocence because he knows if they dig even deeper, they're going to see that he's a deeper piece of shit.
I can see your point, Russell. I see your point. I just don't know if I fully agree with you.
And I could listen again and probably tell you more, but I need to get paid to be a profiler. So I'm going to stop giving away these gems for free.
Well, the case I'm going to tell you today is a little similar to the Adnan Syed case in that a few ways, actually. Number one, it was super high profile. Number two, the evidence in this case is mainly circumstantial evidence. There's not really a lot of physical evidence in this case at all. It's more circumstantial. And number three, the people nowadays, people are pretty much split 50-50 on if they think Scott Peterson committed this crime or if he's totally innocent and he's serving time for a crime he didn't commit.
I think a good way to get away with a crime is you leave a glove at the scene that doesn't fit. Because if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. And that's how OJ got away with it. Just like drop a glove that's not your size near the dead body after you killed it.
God. Okay, so let's get going into this story, and I want to hear your opinion. You're so dumb.
I just thought about that. I don't know why my brain things pop in there.
All right, so I'm going to tell you about the murder of Laci Peterson, okay? On December 24th, 2002, police receive a phone call from a man named Robert Galinsky saying his stepdaughter Laci, who is 8 months pregnant, is missing. Okay, 8 months. So she's like about to pop. On April 13th, 2003, so that's how many months later? January, February, March, April, about 3 months later, the bodies of Laci Peterson and Connor Peterson, her baby, washed up to shore 1 mile from one another. DNA tests proved.
Go ahead. You're probably gonna say what I was gonna ask.
DNA tests proved that the woman and the baby were mother and son, and the child was confirmed to be the son of Scott Peterson. Laci's body washed ashore with no head, no arms,
but she gave birth already.
Let me finish. And 1 foot missing. The baby, however, was fully intact. Scott Peterson would later be convicted of the murders of Laci and Connor Peterson and receive the death penalty. He's currently sitting on death row as we speak and has maintained his innocence the entire time, 16 years now. He's at San Quentin and he's maintained his innocence. Many believe he's guilty and many believe he's innocent. This case is full of circumstantial evidence, like I said, and has very little to almost no physical evidence against Scott Peterson. He was not a good husband. That's something that you will hear throughout this whole story. He was a really bad husband. But does that mean he was a cold-blooded, calculated killer? I'm interested to hear your opinion. Okay?
I'm going to listen.
So, are you ready?
I thought you started already.
I did. That was like my intro.
I'm ready.
Okay, so I'm going to give you all the facts that I know, literally everything. I have been researching this for days now. I've watched 4 like documentaries. One of them is more like a YouTube documentary, but 4 documentaries altogether. I've listened to 3 separate podcasts about this. I've gone into the vacuum of the Reddit vacuum.
I've never been on Reddit.
I have the app and I get all caught up in Reddit. I went through all the reasons why people think he's innocent and all the reasons why people think he's guilty. And I'm going to tell you everything that I know, and I want to hear what you think. Okay?
Sounds like this was your ideal time. Like you just researching crimes and probably drinking wine.
Definitely. That's exactly what happened. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about them and how they met and just like a little history really quick. It'll be brief, okay? Scott was raised by his parents. It was a blended family. They were upper middle class, okay? Like country club people, golfers, tennis players, upper middle class Republicans.
What your dad would call a yuppie.
A little bit more rich than that. He was a bit spoiled. He was an avid golfer. To give you an example about how he was spoiled, his dad told him if he made par, I don't know what that means.
It means you have a certain amount of shots to get the ball in the hole in golf. So say if it's a par 3, you have to get it there in 3 shots. So if you do that, that's a par.
Well,
and if you get it there over, that's like a bogey. And
I don't know any of that, but that's fine.
That means you didn't do good.
So, bogey means you didn't do good. Okay.
No, for regular people like me and most people that play golf, a bogey's pretty good.
Oh.
A par is like what you're supposed to do. And I only got a few of those. Golf's stupid.
Well,
it's only stupid because I'm not good at it.
Well, when he was in high school, his dad said, if you make par, I'll buy you a Ferrari.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm serious. That's what his dad said.
Par in 1 shot, or I guess par the entire course. Yeah.
Probably par the entire course, whatever that means. So he worked really hard. And when he was 16 years old, he did it. And his dad didn't buy him a Ferrari. His dad bought him a cheaper car than that, but it was still a really nice car.
Wow, he ass-betted.
Yeah, he did.
That's messed up.
But his dad gave him a more age-appropriate vehicle.
A Hyundai?
No, I'm sure it was better than a Hyundai.
Shout out to people in Hyundais.
No, listen,
nice.
There's nothing wrong with Hyundais. I'm just saying they were like...
I only drive a Ford, so I got nothing to say again.
They were like upper class, so I'm sure it was a little nicer than a Hyundai. So anyway, he ended up going to college on a golf scholarship. But he partied a lot in college, got kicked out, and then he ended up going to California Polytech. And he had a job waiting tables at like a local college hangout on campus.
Damn, you go from about to get a Ferrari to waiting tables, boy.
No, but he did it because like his parents encouraged him to be a hard worker. So like he didn't need the money. He just was doing it to have like some side money or whatever. And while he was waiting tables is when he met his soon-to-be wife, Laci Rocha. So Laci, she came from like a middle-class loving family. Her parents divorced when she was really young and they both remarried. So kind of like my situation where she had 2 biological parents and 2 step-parents. So she grew up in a very well-supported life. She had a lot of people that loved her. She had a great childhood, just a really all-around happy girl. She loved to garden as a little girl, so she ended up majoring in horticulture as an adult.
That sounds like
California
you're majoring
Polytech.
in being horny.
No, horticulture is the study of plants and how certain plants thrive in certain elements and with each other and yada yada.
They need to rename that major.
Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. So after Laci and Scott met, they were together for about 2 years before they got married. And they ended up opening a business. As soon as they both got out of college and got married, they opened a business right away. And it was really successful. They had a small restaurant and it was super successful. And then in April of 2002, they found out that Laci was pregnant. So they decided to sell the business and move to Modesto, California, to be closer to Laci's family. And that, could help with raising the baby and everything. So when they moved to Modesto, Scott became a fertilizer salesman, and Laci became...
He sold poop.
Well, that's kind of... it's like a foreshadowing on
because he's a
the
shithead.
crap that he's about to... Yeah. So he became a fertilizer salesman, and Laci became a substitute teacher.
That's a shitty job.
And Laci became a substitute teacher. And they had a cute house and a dog named Mackenzie, and they seemed very happy and excited for this new life and their new baby. And this brings us to December 23rd of 2002.
2 days before Christmas.
2 days before Christmas. So this was the last time that Laci's mom spoke to her. She called her mom around 7 p.m. and she just confirmed plans for the holiday, the Christmas holiday, and what they were going to do for Christmas Eve. They were going to go over to her parents' house and have a nice dinner. And then they were going to have a Christmas Day brunch.
Sounds like the Christmas pressure was on.
So according to Scott now, this whole timeline I'm about to tell you of December 24th is all according to Scott, because Scott was the only person with Laci that day, okay? So December 24th, 2002, Scott says they woke up around 7 a.m. and had breakfast. Laci ended up taking a shower and then pulled a bench into the bathroom to sit on while she curled her hair and did her makeup, because she was 8 months pregnant. So she's really big at this point. Her feet get swollen when she stands up for too long. So she used to pull this bench into the bathroom, and Scott said that's what she did that morning. Scott said that he was planning to go golfing that morning, but realized that the weather was kind of crappy. It was a little cold outside. So he decided, instead of going golfing, he changed his mind last minute and he was going to go fishing on his new boat.
It's cold out there too.
It is, but I guess it's more conducive to fishing. I don't know. So Laci and him, they were talking about, how the day was going to play out. And Laci said, okay, well, I'm going to go walk the dog. And then after I walk the dog, I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy ingredients for this recipe that I'm planning to make for brunch for Christmas Day tomorrow. And Scott leaves the house between 9:30 and 10 a.m. And he says this is the last time he saw Laci. So neighbors later say that they see Scott loading umbrellas, like big patio umbrellas, multiple of them, I think 2 or 3 of them, into the bed of his pickup truck. And then Scott drives off and he goes to this warehouse. It's like a storage warehouse place where he keeps his boat and where his office is for his fertilizer company that he, has and he sells his fertilizer from. So he has a computer there and he logs into his computer and he checks his email. And this is all confirmed by police. So they see that he logged in to the computer at the warehouse. They see that he checked his email. And then they see that he searched online on how to put together this new tool that he bought. And then there's about 20 minutes of time that's not accounted for in the computer or anything. And Scott says that he was fiddling around with his tools and putting together this tool that he just looked up how to put together.
You know what's weird? So, if a police officer came to me right now and they asked me what I did for every minute of the day today, there'll be more than 20 minutes I can't account for. I don't remember every little thing.
I know. And that's true. That's totally, and even in Serial, she talks about that in the podcast, how it's really hard to recount your time. It's really difficult.
Yeah, say if they were I'm all right, and then I went to the bathroom. And how long were you in there? I don't know. I pooped, but then I kept watching YouTube on my phone for a while. So it could have been 45 minutes. My legs got numb, so that means it was long. How do I really know? You don't have a stopwatch on with everything you do.
It's so graphic all the time. It's true. You're right. Totally.
Everyone's legs get numb because they stay on YouTube on the toilet too long.
So throughout this whole story, you're going to see that there are a lot of things that you can say, oh, well, I understand that. And there's a lot of things that people are suspicious about Scott with that I don't think are suspicious. And I'll tell you exactly, the times that I feel like people make things a big deal, but I don't really find it that suspicious. There's a bunch of instances throughout this story like that. So Scott ends up cutting his hand in his toolbox, apparently. And there's some blood found on his truck. And he says that he was going in his toolbox. He's cut his hand on one of his tools. So Scott was spotted at the marina which is a 90-minute drive away from his warehouse, okay?
That's a long ways away to park your boat.
It's a long way away, and he didn't park his boat there. He parked his boat in the warehouse. He drove his boat 90 minutes away to the Berkeley Marina, okay? And that's where he went in the water. So he goes into the San Francisco Bay. He says that he, goes around a little bit in the bay, and then he ends up docking on this little island, and he tries fishing there at this island that he docked at, but he didn't catch anything. So he ends up just going back to the marina, and he was confirmed being there later by these maintenance men who saw him struggling trying to get his boat back onto the truck to go. And, they confirmed seeing him struggling trying to do that. So he was definitely
and they didn't help. They're like, look at that dummy.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Scott purchased this boat on December 9th of 2002. Okay. And he paid $1,400 cash for it.
I want a boat. Someone's selling a boat. Hit me up for $1,400.
So this boat, I want you to pay attention to this, okay?
Okay.
So he purchased this boat on December 9th. He paid $1,400 cash for it. He also purchased a fishing pole, and there was a receipt found in his truck. He purchased that pole on December 20th. Now, something that's very interesting to me about this whole boat situation is his family claims that he was like an avid fisherman, right? He always went out fishing and all this stuff. But he didn't have a permit for fishing. He didn't have a fishing license. So in order to get a fishing license, unless you get a yearly license, you have to specify dates, right, that you're going to fish. So when he applied for this fishing license, the dates that he specified were December 24th and December 25th. Okay?
Christmas.
Yes. But he claims that originally he was going to go golfing that day. He claims that he didn't plan to fish. He claims that he was planning to go golfing, but the weather was bad, so he last minute changed his mind.
I feel like
and
it's
went
colder
fishing.
I feel like it's colder on the water.
You're missing my point.
I know what you're saying.
Okay. So
since
he claims that he was, going golfing, and he in fact told everybody that he went golfing. And this is another interesting piece that is just going to give you an idea of how he's pretty inconsistent and kind of lies throughout this whole thing.
Okay.
When he gets back and starts talking to people and police, at first, he doesn't even say he went fishing. He says he went golfing. And then he changes it and then says he went fishing. So I just find all of that really weird, okay? The whole picking those specific dates.
I don't know if it's weird yet. It depends on what happens. I mean, we know the wife gets killed, but...
Okay, so just keep these things in mind, okay, as I bring them up.
You'll have to refresh my memory on certain things, but go ahead.
So now most people, even his own family and Laci's family and his own parents, didn't even know that he had a boat. They didn't know anything about the boat, okay?
That'd be me. I ain't telling no one because I ain't taking no one out. It's just me and my boat.
Yeah, so,
Hashtag selfish Russ.
So that's another thing that...
Don't hashtag
people
that.
found. That's another thing that people found really weird, okay? So altogether, Scott spent about 78 minutes getting the boat in the water, fishing around, and then getting the boat back onto the truck, and then driving back towards his warehouse. 78 minutes, which to me...
He gave up fast. That's not a long time for
Not
fishing.
a long time, right? It kind of shows that you just went out, you might have tried once or twice, and then you came back.
Maybe it was too cold.
Maybe it was too cold. Okay, so now some other things to remember is that the San Francisco Bay is not freshwater, it's saltwater. And the fishing pole that he purchased was a freshwater fishing pole. And the boat that he purchased was a boat that you wouldn't use in saltwater. It was like a small aluminum boat, pretty much just used for freshwater.
Like a dinghy.
A little bit bigger than a dinghy. I think it was like 14 foot. Okay, so... These are just little details to think about that seem weird and inconsistent. If he's an avid fisherman...
Oh, if he knows about fishing. Because I was thinking, really, a fishing pole is a fishing pole. I go to Dick's Sporting Goods, and I just get a pole that has line on it, I throw it in the
But
water.
I'm sure that people who are fishermen would tell you that you're wrong, that there's saltwater fishing poles and there's freshwater fishing poles.
Yeah, but it isn't like when you're out there fishing, the fish see it and they're like, oh, there goes the bait. Ew.
No,
he got a freshwater pole. I am not eating that.
It's not.
Like, no.
That's not the point. So it's just.
I was just thinking that could be me. If I had a little boat, I'd be like, whatever. Water is water, and it floats. It floats. I'm going in there with this pole and this boat, and don't be a saltwater or freshwater snob.
All right, sounds good. So
unless he really knew, because I don't know nothing about fishing. I know a little bit.
Well, I'm trying to just keep you informed with all the details, so we can keep everything out in the open. Okay, so you can look at this totally objectively.
I need like a little cheat.
Well, you have paper and pen in front of you, so you could easily take notes.
Yeah, but I kept drawing triangles, so I don't know why on the sheet I'm doodling.
Okay, so he heads back to his warehouse at 2:15 p.m. Okay, this is still Christmas Eve after he went fishing. 2:15 p.m. He leaves Laci a voicemail. I'm not going to play the voicemail. I'm just going to tell you what it said because it's really short. He says, "Hey, beautiful, I just left a message at home. It's 2:15. I'm leaving Berkeley. I won't be able to get to Vela Farms to get that basket for Papa. I was hoping you would get this message and go out there. I'll see you in a bit, sweetie. Love you. Bye." Okay? So he leaves this message, and then he calls her phone again at 3:52, but he doesn't leave a message. He finally gets home at 4:30 to 4:45 p.m., and when he gets home, Laci's car is in the driveway. Okay? Her purse and her keys are all in the house with her wallet. The dog is in the backyard, but he still has his leash on. Okay?
That's a little fishy.
So now, just for a second, let's just stop. If you came home and you saw our dogs with their leash on, my purse and my car and my keys all here, would you just like go about your day, or would you be like, I wonder where Jess is?
Well, if your car is there, then I got to call. I got to see where you're at.
Her phone, this was 2002. I don't know if she might have had a cell phone, but regardless, pretty much none of her personal items were with her. They were all at home. So there was no way to get in touch with her at this point.
Beep her.
So she didn't have a beeper. So anyway, I just
For the young folks that don't know what beepers are, it's a little black box you would put on your hip, and it's small. It's probably like...
People know what beepers are, Russ.
Well, I was thinking there might be some youngins. Well, anyway, it would put the phone number that you're calling from, and then you're supposed to call that number back.
Yeah, but she didn't have a beeper. I think she might have had a cell phone, but the point is that all of her personal items were at home. They weren't on her.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
So he comes in.
When she was found in the water, did she have personal items on her? Probably not, because they were all in the house, right?
Yeah, nothing. She had nothing on her but a pair of pants. That's it.
Hmm.
So he decided to take a shower. He takes off the clothes that he's wearing and he throws them in the washing machine. And then he makes himself a pizza. Okay? And he says that he assumes that she was at her parents' house. Okay? And then he just, after he did all of that, he sees that he has voicemail. This is when we had answering machines and there was like the little blinking light.
Yep.
He sees that there is an answering machine message. So he goes over, he pushes play, and it's his message first, which shows that she never got it. It was never received by her. And then the second message was her stepfather saying, "Hey, when you guys come over later, bring some whipped cream for the pies that we're going to have for Christmas Eve dinner." So then Scott claims that he said, "Oh, wait, she's not at her parents' house?
Fair enough.
Where is she?"
Fair enough.
So he calls her mom and he asks if she's there. And her mom said, "No, she's not here." And his response was, "Laci is missing." Okay.
That's a good response.
Okay. I find it odd.
I don't.
I find it weird. Why do you all of a sudden just assume she's missing without checking with her friends
Very
or
easy.
looking around or what?
Because you just said, wouldn't you find it weird if my car was there, my wallet and my keys and everything was there? Wouldn't you find it weird?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd be like, yeah. So I would. So first of all, right there, I already think you're missing.
Okay.
So then, who else would you call besides the people you're the closest with your mom and dad. Now, if you're not with your mom and dad on Christmas and you're missing your wallet and your stuff, women don't leave anywhere without makeup. So if the makeup's there, they got kidnapped.
So, okay, I can see your point.
Yeah, you're contradicting yourself.
Okay.
You're guilty of something.
So he didn't call police, okay?
I wouldn't call police yet either.
He ended up calling her friends first. And then he takes the dog and he starts walking around the neighborhood, talking to neighbors and walking with, in the same places that she might have walked the dog, okay?
The dog with the leash on is a weird situation because even if he killed her, why does the dog still have the leash on? Was he in that much of a hurry? They was about to walk the dog and said, "No, I'm going to walk this dog." I'll finish that later. I'll just kill you first.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you. So the stepdad, this is when, like I told you in the beginning, that the stepdad called the police, okay? Mm-hmm. And in the 911 call, the first thing that her stepdad says is, "I just spoke to my son-in-law. He went to play golf and then came back, and my daughter is missing." Okay? Or my daughter, blah, blah, blah. It's a 4-minute long thing. But the point is that Scott told him that he went to play golf, but he didn't. He was on a boat. And that always sticks with me. It's something I can't get past. But anyway.
You're like, why do you lie?
Yeah, like, why lie about that? Why? Why not just say you were on the boat? Why not just say that first? Why do you have to lie?
I don't know.
Scott walked through the neighborhood talking to neighbors, and one of the neighbors told him, "Well, I saw your dog outside on the street with their leash on. Mm-hmm. And I saw him running around in the front of your house. So I grabbed him and put him in the backyard." And so that's how the dog ended up in the backyard. The neighbors saw the dog out there. Okay?
But why was the leash on?
I don't know. That's just that. So that's all we know at this point. So the cops were called, friends were called, family. Everyone ended up meeting at the house around 6 p.m., including the cops. So this is considered a high-risk missing person, okay? There's old people, disabled people, pregnant people. They're all high risk because something medical could happen to them. So when this pregnant woman who's 8 months pregnant goes missing, the cops are on it because they want to find her because she could miscarry the baby. She could go into labor and end up dying or whatever. So she's really important. So they really get on it right away. They go out, they scour the whole park that she normally walks her dog in, and there was no sign of her, nothing. They talked to many neighbors, and nothing came up, no leads. So Scott was weirdly worried about the wrong things, okay? When cops showed up, Scott was overly concerned about the cops parking too close to his car in the driveway and dinging his car.
What kind of car was it?
It doesn't matter.
It does.
Russell, if I go missing, if your priority is dinging your car, then you deserve to be punched in the face.
That's not my priority, but I don't want to have a dinged car.
It doesn't matter.
And a missing wife. Now you have two problems.
Why is he even thinking about that? Like, really, honestly, stop trying to be funny. Really just think through it. Why is that even a concern?
You know what? I'm going to say, because I'm a huge car guy, I love cars. I actually was just on my phone looking at cars as Jess was talking. But I'm sorry, now she's looking at me dirty. But it's just a natural reaction for a car guy. I don't know if he's a car guy. Your natural reaction doesn't matter what's going on.
He had a Ford F-150. I don't know if he's really a car guy. I mean, no offense to people who like trucks, but I don't, like, when I think of a car guy.
But if you see someone next to your car, your first reaction is always, what are you doing right next to my car?
The whole thing is that it's weird to me that he's preoccupied with that when his 8-month pregnant wife is missing.
That's true. That is true. But so, like, just right away, when you see someone like park too close to your car, I was like, what are you doing?
Well, the cops found it weird, and I find it weird too. This is just a weird reaction. Okay. Another thing that was super weird is when the cops came in the house, he was really worried about them leaving marks on his wood furniture with their drinks. So he kept like going around and making sure that all the drinks had coasters under them because he didn't want any like marks from your drinks on the wood furniture. Like, just preoccupied with stuff that makes zero sense to be preoccupied with.
Well, we're digging. We're splitting hairs now.
No, we're
digging
not.
Too deep.
I want
don't
you
like
to
those
focus
ones.
on these types of things. So that night, the cops, after they were searching for it, got dark, and they weren't able to really search outside anymore. So they just said, "Scott, why don't you come down to the station? We're going to go through the timeline with you. He wasn't a suspect at first at all. They found his actions a little weird, but
People are weird.
They didn't really have him on the radar as a suspect yet. But one of the investigators decided, let me just record this. Just because I feel like I should just
do your due diligence.
Record this conversation we're about to have with him. Mm-hmm. So they go through the entire timeline, and then at the end of it, Scott was asked to take a polygraph, and he agreed. He was like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm really exhausted and I just want to go home and go to sleep. Can I come back tomorrow and do it, on Christmas?
To all my Wife of Crime fans out there, never take a polygraph. Whether you did it or you didn't, they are not accurate. It's basically witchcraft. They are not accurate at all. So do not take
They're not admissible in court, so...
Yeah, so what's the point? Now you're just fucking with me.
A lot of cops do it.
My magic machine thinks you did it.
A lot of cops do it because they want to see your reaction. They want to see if you are an open book and you're like, yeah, of course, I'll take a polygraph. That's all. It's really just the reaction to the question, will you take a polygraph?
Well, from what I know, I've seen innocent people get convicted. The first thing you do when cops want to talk to you, lawyer up.
So, he ended up going home, and his dad and him had a conversation, and his dad convinced him not to take the polygraph.
Good job, Dad.
So, when he got home that night, this is another thing I find weird. Please, I want you to do me a favor.
You want me to think how you're thinking, but I can't because I'm me.
No, I want you to think. Don't try to be funny.
I'm not.
And make
I wouldn't want no one parking near my car.
But really think if this is something you would do. I want you to try to pretend I went missing.
So right now she's saying, he's going to say he would have did this.
No. I don't think you would do this, but I just find this weird. When he gets home this night, his wife is missing. He orders 2 porns. He does. He orders 2 porns. And when cops finally look through his computer, they find that he orders some weird porns.
That's not guilty,
No, like
though.
Bestiality porns. Like he's into some weird stuff, okay? Doesn't make him a killer.
Nope.
But on the night that your wife is missing, you go home and order porn. I find it weird.
I mean, if he normally orders porn when in his regular everyday life, and he's just being, what do you want? You can't just lay in the bed and cry.
It's Christmas Eve, and your wife is missing, and you're home ordering porn?
That's true. He's supposed to put the cookies and milk out for Santa Claus.
No, come on, Russ. Honestly. Seriously. Think logically through this.
So would you be like, he actually watched a baseball game while his wife was missing?
I would be so weirded out by anything other than you being super distraught and worried.
You can't just sit there and cry because it's not helping. So you just got to be like, all right, let me just not go crazy and rub one out, I guess.
This is so weird. No.
I wouldn't order porn because it's free.
Shut up. I'm serious, Russ.
No.
I'm serious. Be serious for just 1 second,
right
please.
now it's just seeming like he's a weird fella. He's just weird.
Okay. He's weird and he lies. Those are 2 things we've established at this point.
He only lied to his father-in-law.
No, he lies more. You'll see. So now, Detective Al Brocchini, he's one of the lead investigators in this case. He started getting a weird vibe from Scott really early on. He didn't like the way that this guy was reacting to his wife being missing. He kind of acted like he didn't care.
Okay.
He didn't.
That's something.
He didn't look sad. He was very emotionally distant. He wasn't out there, with the media trying to get people to search for her. He was kind of just nonchalant about the entire thing. And this rubbed Detective Al Brocchini the wrong way. So now that caused them to kind of zero in on him early, which could have hindered the case a little bit because it means they didn't look into everything as deeply as they probably would have if they ruled him out right away. Okay? So they did zero in on him early, and there's a few things that I will say they should have followed up on a little more. So there were 12 witnesses that came forward claiming to have seen Laci walking the dog that day. Now, Laci walked her dog every single day, and this was part of her routine. So it could have been the 24th that they saw her, or it could have been the 23rd that they saw her, and they thought it was the 24th because days do kind of run together.
See, but now something like that, they lied. They said it was the 23rd, but it was really the 24th. Maybe they took her.
No, but the point I'm making is that he didn't look into this any further. He took these witness statements, but he didn't continue to talk about it. He didn't continue to ask more questions from these witnesses, okay? So Al Brocchini says that Scott lied about things that he just didn't understand why he would lie about them. So the night of the 24th, before he went to the police station to go through the timeline, this is before he was a suspect, Al Brocchini went to the warehouse with Scott, and Scott was going to show him the warehouse where his boat was and everything. But Scott said, there's a power outage, so you can't look through the warehouse right now. The power's out. It's not working. So the detective pulled up close, and he put his headlights on, but he couldn't really see much. So he just kind of looked in, but didn't do a thorough search. So then a couple days later, once he started getting weird and having these weird feelings about Scott, he called the power company to see if it was actually a power outage and all that. And of course, there was no power outage. There was nothing. So...
Well, that's a little fishy.
Yeah, that's a little fishy.
First fishy thing is that one.
Not the first. That's probably the third fishy thing, but it's okay.
No, to conspiracy theorists and people that are trying to look for reasons to find guilt, that's the first fishy thing.
Okay.
To other ones oh my God, he struggled with his boat. No.
So now police did a press conference, and they asked for people in the public to corroborate Scott's alibi. Okay. They wanted people to come forward and say they saw him at the marina. That way they could rule him out. But doing this press conference caused people to say, wait, so is Scott a suspect then? And then the media went crazy. And from this point on, from this press conference on, the media stalked his life. They were outside of his house constantly, all the time. From December 26th on, they were stalking his life. And
that'll really hinder an investigation, though. Media is, that type of media is scum.
Well, Laci's family defended him. They said, no, Scott would never do anything like this. I mean, they defended him hardcore. They really didn't believe that he had anything to do with her disappearance. So they had his back 100%. And the police decided, okay, so the family doesn't believe he's involved, so let's start looking elsewhere for a little while. So they ended up going through, and every parolee in a 50-mile radius, they individually interviewed and made sure that they had an alibi for that day. Okay, every parolee, every person that had any history of violence against women or, violent crime or anything like that. Another weird thing is that a neighbor came forward and said that on the 24th, their house was robbed. Okay, that there was a burglary that occurred on the 24th, on Christmas Eve. And another neighbor confirmed it by saying that she drove by that house and she saw a van in the driveway with 3 men who creeped her out. Okay, so now police...
That's something. And then the dog was missing. She could have been walking the dog. Those guys scooped her up, and that's why the dog's out there with the leash.
So police followed up on this. Okay, they went. They apprehended the guys that did this, and one of the first things that the guys said is, "We robbed that place, but we have nothing to do with the pregnant lady's disappearance." Okay, that's what the guys said. They came forward and said that right away. You could take that 2 ways. You could say. So they really didn't, they're just thieves and whatever. Or it's why would you say that? Why would you just come out and say, we had nothing to do with the disappearance of this lady?
That once that lady went missing that lives right there and they robbed the house, that they're going to be suspects right away.
Well, the cops, they kind of pushed this narrative that the robbery happened on the 26th, 2 days later. But the witness claims it was Christmas Eve, and on the 26th, there were tons of media outside of Scott's house. So why would a robbery happen on the 26th?
So it did not.
So it doesn't add up. And it's a possibility that these guys were robbing this house. She walked by with her dog. She said, hey, what are you guys doing? They snatched her up and took her away and killed her, and that's it. But it's also kind of, I don't know.
So far, that right there is way more likely than the husband.
Okay. So police, like I said, they ended up ruling these guys out. They apprehended them, they interviewed them, they interrogated them, they put them in jail for the robbery, and they ruled them out. And they were no longer an issue for police. And neither were any of the parolees they interviewed in a 50-mile radius. And then a shocking new detail would emerge that would flip this case literally on its head. Okay?
The case has a head.
The case has a head, and there is a detail that will emerge that flipped this case upside down. And
say it.
So on December 30th, a woman named Amber Fry calls the tip line that the police had set up. And she claims that she's been in a relationship with Scott Peterson, and she had no idea until now that he was married. Okay?
Okay, that's a little interesting.
Mm-hmm. So she says to the police, she tells the police on December 29th at 1:40 a.m., she received a phone call from a friend of hers that worked for the Fresno PD. And he says, hey, you know that guy that you took to your company Christmas party? Is his name Scott? And she's like, yeah. And he goes, is it Scott Peterson? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, have you been watching the news? Because is it the same guy that's wife has been missing? And she literally had no idea. It was like dropping a bomb on her. She hadn't seen the news in the last couple days. She had no idea that he was married. She had no idea about this case at all. And he told her all about the case, and he said, you need to call the Modesto Police Department like right now. So
yeah, but why?
Why call the police? Because he's been lying to her, saying that he's he's having an affair.
All cheaters don't tell.
Okay, just listen. So Amber calls the police and says, I've been dating this guy. It's Scott Peterson. He claims that he's single, but he's really married to this woman who's missing.
It's a woman scorn. Now she's going to get you in jail for the rest of your life.
Amber says, we met in early November. Scott was in Fresno for business, and he met a girl at a bar and flirted with her and hit on her. The girl wasn't interested, but she said that she would set him up with her best friend. So Amber and Scott, they met for their date in November, like later November. And Scott took her to a hotel room. He had roses and chocolate and champagne. And it was like a whirlwind romance. Okay. He said he lived a few hours away. So a lot of their relationship was long distance.
I've never heard the term whirlwind romance.
You haven't? It's like a...
Are you spinning?
No, it's like a romance that you just get all caught up in, and, you know, it's like crazy romantic. And
that's like from a Fabio book.
No, it's not. Women know what I mean.
And when you say whirlwind romance, you gotta like
not world, whirlwind.
You gotta whisper like whirlwind romance.
Well, anyway, that's what it was. And he totally swept her off her feet. Amber was a single mom with a daughter. She just got finished with, she did massage therapy school. She just got finished, was starting her career. And her daughter and her were living by themselves. So she was looking for someone to settle down with. And she was really excited when she met Scott because he was handsome and he seemed to have it all together, and he was like this single guy. She couldn't believe he was single, and he was charming and all this stuff. So they ended up having like this long distance relationship. They saw each other a handful of times, but they spoke on the phone all the time. They talked a lot. So he ended up coming to Fresno to meet her daughter, and he brought her daughter a gift. They went hiking. So Amber was super excited about this relationship. So on December 9th, Amber's friend calls Scott and says, hey, I found out that you're actually married. Either you're going to tell Amber or I'm going to tell her. Okay, this is December 9th. So Scott drove to Fresno, sat Amber down, and he said, listen, I lied to you. I'm actually married. I should have told you that. Or he says, I was married. I'm not married anymore because I lost my wife. Okay. This was December 9th. Laci went missing on December 24th. He tells Amber, I lost my wife. Weird choice of words, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He says that he's distraught and he doesn't want to talk about it. So she doesn't push and ask many questions. So he says, I'm going away for Christmas and New Year's, but after Christmas, when I come back, we can have the conversation and I'll tell you what happened. Okay? That's what he says to her.
I still don't see it. He's just trying to keep her too. And
you're so annoying. How do you not see that this is like so suspicious, Russ? December 9th, he says, I lost my wife.
Yeah, because now he gets to keep both the girls if he says this to her. She'll feel bad for him, still keep him. He got to manipulate the story.
Yeah, but then he says, I'm going away for Christmas and New Year's, but after Christmas,
yeah, because he had to spend
I will talk.
If he's innocent, he has to spend all that time with his wife because he didn't think she was going to be dead. So I can't spend it with my side girl because my wife's here.
Okay. All right. So then on the same day, okay, December 9th, Scott goes and buys a boat, and he pays $1,400 cash for this boat, okay? The same day. Scott said, I'm going away for the holidays and New Year's. We'll talk about it when I get back, like I said. So they talked every day on the phone after that, and Amber, up until the point where she realizes that this is Scott Peterson, Amber had no idea, and she just thought that, he was busy for the holidays or whatever. She asked if she could send him a gift in the mail, and I need an address. So he gives her a P.O. box in Modesto.
Because he didn't plan on his wife being dead. If he planned on his wife being dead, he could have gave her the address.
Well, anyway, so Amber agreed to work with police. Okay. After the detectives came over and spoke to her, she told the whole story.
Full-blown Amber alert going on.
Yo, she was pissed. I would have been pissed too.
Yeah.
She was lied to.
Yes.
She felt guilty that this lady is missing and she's been dating her husband of the missing lady. She felt terrible about it. She had no idea. She wanted to work with police because she was like, this guy is a scumbag. So the police went to Radio Shack and they bought her a tape recorder that plugs into your phone. And they showed her how to use it. They were like, just plug it in whenever he calls and record your phone calls.
Like
that's all we want you to do.
From Home Alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't get a yellow one. It'd be very noticeable.
So now the police are all in on Scott. They're like, okay, this dude has a motive, right? This dude definitely has been lying to people. He lied to us. He lied to his parents. He lied to this girl, Amber. He lied to Laci because he was cheating on her. They looked a little bit more into his past. He had cheated on her multiple times in the past. Okay, so he was a confirmed liar. He's a confirmed... He made some really fishy decisions when it came to buying a boat the day that he also says he lost his wife, when it came to the fishing permit being just for the 24th and 25th, when he lied about going on the boat and said he was actually golfing when he wasn't, he was really on a boat. There's a lot of weird things.
The boat thing I could see a little bit. But you know what? Right now, he's just sounding like a cheating husband that lies to his wife and hides it. He's cheated on her before and didn't have to get rid of her. I know dudes that cheat on their wives and lie all the time.
But the issue is, another thing is that he told Amber he doesn't want children. And Laci is pregnant. And so a lot of people believe that maybe, yeah, he cheated in the past or whatever. But now that she's pregnant and he's about to be a dad and his life is about to completely change, that he felt that he just needed to get rid of her because it's not like just divorcing your wife or whatever. Now he's going to have a child with this lady. She'll be in his life forever. So a lot of people believe that the child was the thing that pushed him over the edge. Okay? So now, like I said, the cops are all in on Scott. They're like, okay, he has a motive, whatever. And as they're showing Amber how to use this recorder, Scott calls. When Scott calls, he says that he's in Normandy, heading to Paris. Because he says he's in Europe.
The invasion of Normandy.
Well, he says he's in Europe. Yeah, and he was in Normandy.
And he's obviously lying because
heading
he's a liar.
Paris. And, he's going to Paris and that he would be there for the New Year in Paris. And this is what so he says this, and then he calls her later on. This is going to be December 31st. All right. He calls her later, and he says that he's in Paris for New Year's Eve. And this is what is later going to be known as the New Year's Eve call, or the nail in Scott Peterson's coffin in the court of public opinion. Okay. Because as he's calling her, saying that he's in Paris at a celebration for New Year's, he's actually at his wife's candlelight vigil, his wife and missing pregnant wife and child's candlelight vigil. And he's calling his girlfriend from the candlelight vigil, and I'm going to play you the phone call. Are you ready?
But wait, do you know what he's guilty of so far? Being a piece of shit.
He is a total piece of shit. 100% I told you that.
That's all he's guilty of so far.
I said, this man is a total piece of shit, but is he a calculated killer? I'm interested to hear at the end what you think, okay? But right now, I'm going to play the phone call that solidified the public opinion of Scott Peterson being a murderer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Hello?
Baby?
Yes.
Amber?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, hey.
Oh my goodness. What's
I found a quiet place. Pretty good, huh?
That's really good. Oh my god. It's like been all this crazy static and stuff. I'm like, so frustrated.
I thought I've been trying to call it. Working. Amber?
Yes?
Amber?
Oh.
Oh, stop. Amber.
I'm right.
Amber, are you there?
Yes.
Amber?
I can hear you.
Hey.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. I'm walking.
Okay, I'm like, stay still or something.
I know. I'm going to make it work.
How was your New Year's?
What's that?
How was your New Year's?
It's good. I'm just, everyone's in this bar now, so I came out of the alley. Quiet alley. Is that nice?
Yeah, it is. I can hear you. Very good.
It's pretty awesome. Fireworks and everything. The Eiffel Tower. The people all playing American rock songs.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty funny.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you guys decided to go out. Who?
Oh, definitely.
I can never remember your friend's name. I know Jeff, but you always say, from Swans.
Koala. And then we have Pasquale, a friend of ours, hanging up.
Uh-huh. Oh, he's there too?
Pasquale, yeah.
Good. Did you make any New Year's resolutions? What was that?
Should be.
Should be?
What should my New Year's resolution be?
Oh, I don't know. That was my question. Remember?
Oh, I didn't think of that. I'll come up with something good.
Yeah, you have to tell us something good. So
where are you headed?
Well, did you get my message?
No.
You didn't get,
Leave him?
Yeah, I left you a message because I was like, well, I hope you at least get that. But I was going to, or the San Francisco thing didn't work out. So I'm probably most likely going to go later to Sean's. Are you there? Hello? Hello? Are you there?
So first of all, she's got a good acting skills because she knows that he's lying to her, and she does a really good job at acting like she isn't suspicious of anything.
Well, the first thing I got from that is they need a new cell phone provider.
This is 2002.
The whole time, all I heard, it sounded like a Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now? So after I got over that, the cell phone reception, the second thing I got from that, she sounds 5.
Okay, Russell, come on.
The third thing I got from that, I told you I'd get in trouble. The third thing I got from that is I think he's guilty because there's zero remorse and he doesn't care. All the circumstantial evidence didn't mean anything. Just by hearing his tone of voice, and he's trying to line up his next chick and just replace his wife right away with the tone of voice, not like the way it happened. I think he's guilty.
So you had to hear him
speak and hear like how nonchalant he is about this whole thing and how much he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, because that's how I do it. I'm like a differerent kind of profiler.
Okay. So
he did it.
I'm glad you finally
But the actions had
starting
nothing to do with it. All those other things, the boat, yes, maybe. She was only out there for a little bit. But the other...
So anyway, okay, good. So I think he did it as well. And a lot of people won't agree with us. There's a lot of people in Scott Peterson's camp who totally think he's innocent. And one of the documentaries, the A&E documentary that's out, they do put a lot of points out there that show that the prosecution really didn't have a strong case against him. So it's kind of similar with the Adnan story, where there's not necessarily enough evidence to convict him, but based on his actions and the way he portrays himself and the things he does and says, actions speak louder than words to me. And like the way he's acting, I totally can't even believe that someone who didn't do it would act that way.
Well, it's weird because in our country, they say innocent until proven guilty, but it's clearly not true. Like once you're like tried, you have to prove your innocence. No one has to prove your guilt. So that's just like a funny way of saying it. I can't even think of the right words.
Yeah.
You're just soon as you're in court, you're presumed guilty. Now prove your innocence.
So now, like I said, he's at this candlelight vigil, right? That they're holding on New Year's Eve. 1,500 people came.
Damn, she had a lot of friends.
Well, no, just the community. They were sad. I mean, the community came together for this girl. This is all over the media. She's pregnant. No one knows where she is. Like, this is a big deal. And, you know, a lot of people say that the community came out because she's a pregnant lady. Some people say it was white lady syndrome because other women who weren't white, who were pregnant, had gone missing, and no one gave them this much attention. So there was a lot of, you know, controversy when it came to that, but we don't have to get into all of that. But 1,500 people came to this vigil, and he was there, and the media, so her whole family was on this like stage in the front, and they were all speaking, like telling all the people, thank you so much for coming, speaking to the media, saying we just have to keep her case out there. We got to find Laci. But Scott was in the way back, obviously, because he wanted to talk to his girlfriend on the phone.
Yeah, if he was in the back because he was sad, that's a whole nother story.
He was in the back and he was talking to his girlfriend. And also, there's a lot of pictures that the media took of him in the back laughing and smiling. And some people say, you know, he had a lot of people there. He was saying, like, thank you for coming. And maybe the media just snapped a photo when he was shaking hands and saying, thank you for coming and supporting us.
Because if you were missing, I wouldn't be on stage, like, either. Like, unless like, what I'm doing can actually help the situation, I tend to not want to do things like
that. Just so you know, if you were missing, my face would be all over the media because I would be begging everybody to find you. I would have your name out in the media constantly because I didn't want anyone to forget about you, and I'd want everyone to be looking for you.
Well, I'm just saying I wouldn't be on stage like that. You could talk to the...
You just see a clear difference between the way her parents acted and the way he acted. The way her parents acted is they get on TV, they cry their eyes out. And, you know, I'm not saying that everyone needs to react the same way. I'm not. Because there's some situations where people aren't, and there's sometimes where people are guilty and they get out and put on this Academy Award-winning show on TV. And that also can cause, you know, like that just shows that people react differently to grieving situations, and I get it. I totally get it. However, the way he was acting is he was hiding from the media. He didn't want to be out there, and people found it a little distant.
He acted like he didn't care. I don't know if he acted like he was hiding, because he was there, and he knew people was looking at him, so I don't think he was hiding.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. You're right.
Wait, say that again?
You're right about that.
I'm right. I don't get that often.
So now, January 5th, okay, he drives a rental car to Berkeley Marina, okay, the marina that he went out on the boat from, that he launched from.
90 minutes from his home?
Yeah, so it's a 170-mile round-trip drive, okay? He drives this rental car to the marina. He gets out. He walks to the edge of the pier. Cops are following him, by the way.
Okay, so they're seeing
him do this. He goes out to the edge of the pier. He stares out into the water for 5 minutes. gets back in his car, and he drives home. January 6th, does the same thing. He drives out to the marina, gets out of the car, walks to the edge of the pier, stares out into the bay, and then leaves and drives home. So on the drive home on January 6th, the cops noticed that he started like driving erratically and making like sudden turns. And it's because he was trying to lose them because he realized that the cops were following him. And they ended up losing him, right? But
and he lost him in a Ford F-150? That guy was
No,
boogieing.
he had a rental car, I said.
Oh, that's right.
Because the cops had confiscated his vehicles and they were still in police custody.
Oh, damn.
So he had to rent cars, okay? So he had a rental car. He lost the police because he was driving erratically. And later in court, the lawyers would argue that he was actually thinking it was the media following him. And that's what he was trying to get away from, that he wasn't trying to get away from cops, but whatever. So that night on January 6th, he called Amber around 11 p.m. and he confessed to her who he was. He said, I'm Scott Peterson. Laci Peterson is my wife. She's actually missing. We don't know where she is. And he claims that he didn't tell her ahead of time because he wanted to protect her from the media and getting media backlash. So on January 9th, Scott takes a different rental car to San Francisco Bay and Berkeley Marina, gets out of the car and looks at the bay again for 5 minutes and then drives back. The lawyers will later claim in the court that he was just watching over the search efforts because at this point, the search efforts were in the water. So they claim that he was watching over the search efforts in the bay. But others would say no, because he didn't make his presence known. He didn't go up and say that he was concerned about the search efforts and like ask cops how things were going. So people think that's bullcrap. So now, like I said, the police had confiscated his vehicle. So that's why he was using all of these rental cars. So that explains him renting all these cars.
He had no choice.
He finally got his car back on January 23rd, okay? And on January 24th, the media somehow found out about Amber and Scott. And they had multiple photos that someone had sold to them of the two of them together. And they were going to publish it. So police felt really bad and they didn't want Laci's family to find out about all of these pictures and about Amber, and because her family at this point knew nothing about this. They still supported Scott.
I thought they knew.
No, they were secretly recording him up until this point, until January 24th. So the family had no idea. So the police said, you know what, let's just tell the family now before these pictures come out, because it's really messed up for them to hear about it in the media.
Definitely.
And they also told Amber, you should do a press conference and you should tell everybody, because the last thing you want is for anyone to think that you knew about Laci, that you knew anything at all. Like, put
like
yourself
you're part
in
of it.
Yeah, put yourself in a position where you are what you really are, the innocent bystander who had no idea any of this was going on. That way no one can misconstrue it.
All this for trying to get yourself a stepdaddy.
So on January 24th, Amber did a press conference. It was really short, but she got in front of the media and she made it clear that she knew nothing about Laci up until a few weeks before, when she started recording him. And she apologized to the family. And when Laci's mom saw the pictures of Scott and Amber together, she immediately started bawling. And the first thing she said was, why did he have to kill her? He could have just divorced her. Why did he have to kill her? So automatically, Laci's mom, boom, thinks Scott's guilty. That's it. There's no question in her mind. And the family totally just turns their back on Scott because Scott never came to them like a man and explained anything. He just completely stopped talking to them. Okay.
You know, being a cheater doesn't make you a killer.
Well, Laci's friends and family, they approached Amber and they told Amber that they appreciate her. They appreciate what she did, recording Scott's phone calls and like trying to come forward and be honest in the public. And they really said that it's just an unfortunate circumstance for her. And thank you for cooperating with police because you're helping our investigation of our daughter's disappearance.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, Scott stopped talking to Laci's family and he ended up moving away to San Francisco to his sister's house. Okay. And when he moved in, the first night that he was there, his sister and brother-in-law and him were having dinner. They had a couple glasses of wine because his sister was like, maybe he really just needs to unwind and like get away. He's probably super stressed out and sad.
And being if it's your sister should lean in the direction of giving you the benefit of the doubt because it's all circumstantial evidence.
Exactly.
Unless it was real evidence, then I'm like, all right, he did it. But if it's circumstantial, then you probably should take your family side until you find out some worse stuff.
Yeah. So his sister supported him. She made dinner for him. They had some wine. But his sister's husband, his brother-in-law, got a really weird vibe because after they were all having dinner and drinking, he wanted to literally say not a word, not speak about Laci whatsoever, about the situation. He didn't say anything. He actually pretended like it didn't even exist. Like her husband was like, he was actually kind of having fun, which to me is really weird because if my wife was still missing, nothing could make me have fun,
That's
like,
true, because if I was missing, you can't replace me. I'm the best. So you can have no fun.
Or you could put yourself in the husband's shoes and say, if I was missing, you wouldn't be out having any fun. Even if you were at dinner having a couple glasses of wine, you wouldn't be having fun.
I want to go have fun. I mean, you don't even let me have fun when you're alive. You're my fun police.
Shut up.
So you're like, wait, I smell fun. Stop smiling.
That's not true. So anyway, both of them, her Scott's sister and her husband, started noticing just some odd things, okay? And one of them was that they had a babysitter who would come by and babysit their kids, and Scott would like openly flirt with this girl, like in front of everybody.
That's weird.
This young babysitter, while his wife is still not located yet, while she's still missing. Another thing he would do that they found weird is he would constantly stare at the water because this is San Francisco. They lived within eye's view of the San Francisco Bay, and he would stare at the water and then he would watch footage on TV of their search efforts in the water and he would get really angry. And you would think he would want them to find his wife. So like, why would it make you angry that they're searching for her?
Why are they continuously looking on the water?
Because they think she's in the water. They've narrowed it down.
Of him? Because he has a boat?
Because of his boat. So they narrow it down to think that they're in the water. And they keep searching there, and he's getting angry about it, about the fact that they're searching there. And this made his sister even feel weird. Okay?
That's suspicious.
So now he finally spoke to media for the first time in late January. He talked to Diane Sawyer. And obviously I can't put this in the podcast, but if you're really interested in this case, I would encourage you to go on YouTube and look up this clip of him talking to Diane Sawyer.
Scott Peterson and Diane Sawyer.
Yeah, because in my opinion, it's a show. In my opinion. Because up until this point, this dude didn't give two shits about his missing wife and baby, okay? He doesn't care about any of it. He's deliberately avoided the media at all costs, hasn't spoken to anyone. One thing that I forgot to tell you is that when they had this command center for Laci in the way beginning, like the first week or so that she was missing, they had a command center. And anytime he would walk in, if he saw any pictures of him and Laci together, he would make everybody take them down. The only pictures he would allow out in the open were pictures of her, but not pictures of the two of them together. And obviously it was because he was trying to hide from Amber seeing them.
Oh, I didn't get that.
But like up until this point, you've done all these weird things, avoided the media, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden you're on Diane Sawyer with your teary eyes.
Faking?
Making sure everyone can see like he's crying and like he won't wipe his tears away. It's like he wants people to see. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but.
Well, from what I'm getting from this is you're trying to find him guilty.
No, you know what it is? I really went into this trying to have an open mind because I was like, I spoke to somebody the other day, one of our listeners. We saw her in the bar. One of the girls in the Bronx, shout out to Krista. We saw her in a bar and she's totally in the Scott Peterson is innocent camp.
Oh, really?
And I really openly tried to go into this thinking, okay, he might be innocent. Let me keep an open mind. But the more I watched and the more I listened to, I even listened to Crime Junkie. Crime Junkie covered this over 2 episodes. And I think Ashley Flowers believes that he's innocent. I listened to both sides and I just cannot wrap my brain around this man being innocent. There's just nothing I can't.
There's
can't.
no evidence really pointing to him being guilty.
I don't care. The way he acts. It's like how you feel about Adnan. You feel totally convinced that Adnan is guilty.
You know what?
I feel totally convinced that Scott Peterson
But
is
you know
guilty.
what? I also could say guilty really easily. Because I also don't give a shit. I'm like, fucking guilty.
No, but I'm serious. Like, you really believe he's guilty.
Yeah, he's probably guilty. Probably did it.
I believe Scott Peterson is guilty.
I'm undecided.
But I really, really went into this with an open mind. I promise I did.
I think if I watched some interviews of him, he sounded, not remorseful and just trying to set up his next girl on the phone call with Amber.
Mm-hmm.
But excuse me, damn, burped 2 episodes in a row. All right, so where was I?
He sounded guilty when he talked to Amber.
Yeah, he sounded guilty when he talked to Amber. Like he's just trying to set up his next girlfriend. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's still no evidence.
So, okay, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So, a couple more things. He kept calling Amber. Even though now it's all out, Amber knows he's Scott Peterson, blah, blah, blah. He kept calling her on the phone, okay? And now, February 10th comes around. And February 10th is an important date because that is Connor's due date. That's his baby's due date, February 10th. So, in my mind, if you're anticipating your child being born, you've already named him. You've already given this child a name, okay? You would think that February 10th would be a day where he's like at least a little upset or pretends to be upset about the fact that his child is still missing. But instead, he calls Amber and leaves her a voicemail and tells her to go outside and look in the bushes because it's her birthday. And he hid a bunch of gifts for her. So, like, he's just totally detached.
You're looking too much into things.
No, that's messed up.
You're just No, because maybe he's been like, if he didn't do it, maybe he's been sad for a long time. Why is this 10th day?
They're not even found yet, bro.
Well, he knows they're dead. Everyone knows when someone's missing that long, they're dead.
It doesn't matter. It's only been since December 23rd. It's February 10th.
Dead.
It doesn't matter if they're dead. You still wouldn't be over it yet, and they're still not found.
Well, he's just a piece of shit. You can't go to jail for being a piece of shit. Well, in America, you can.
All right. So now, February 18th, police search his house again, but they don't really find much. Okay. And now we're going to fast forward to April 13th. And I'm going to describe the day, because this is the day that they find the bodies. And I'm going to describe them. If you don't want to hear this part, you can fast forward, hit 30 seconds a couple times, because I know it's a little graphic, to be honest. So there's a couple walking along the water, the San Francisco Bay water, and they see the body of a late-term male fetus. Okay, he's totally intact. He looks like a baby. I mean, he's a fully formed baby. But it's pretty decomposed body of this baby. Okay. And the next day, another body was found by someone walking along the water about a mile away. And this is a female with no head, no arms, and missing one foot. And she's wearing khaki maternity pants and a maternity bra. So she's pretty much like a torso and one leg and half of a leg. So the coroner believed that Connor was fully intact because Laci went into the water pregnant, but then once she died, the body expelled the baby out. Once her body started decomposing, the baby came out because her other organs were gone out of her torso as well. So they must have come out as well. And so Laci's body protected the baby for a really long time. That's why his body wasn't in rough shape.
Wow.
So the elements in the water messed her body up a lot because, she was missing some limbs and things like that. So they believe that the baby wasn't born prior to going into the water. Pretty much that was the conclusion of this. So after this, they did DNA testing, and they confirmed that this was Laci's baby and Scott's baby, and Scott was arrested for the murder of his wife and son the day after the bodies were found, because they did it pretty quickly.
But why would he be arrested then? Why wouldn't...
Because they didn't have a body before. They didn't have any evidence before.
They still don't have any evidence.
They don't.
They have a dead body, but they don't have any evidence.
Yeah, but they have that these bodies found in the water were the wife and child of Scott Peterson, who is is a suspect. So now they can bring him in.
It's like if you're not married, you have a less likely chance of being convicted for murder. Because if you're married to someone and they end up going missing or dead, you're just going to jail.
No, it's not true. There's a lot of people whose wives and husbands get murdered or go missing and they don't end up in jail. This dude did a lot of things.
If you went missing, they'd be
why are you not putting the responsibility on this guy? He did a lot of things.
Why are you?
Because he did a lot of things that would make him look suspicious. Like, come on.
He looked like he didn't care. That's true.
So when they arrested Scott, they found $19,000 cash in his car. He had blonde hair and a blonde goatee. He had dyed his hair blonde, grew out a goatee, dyed that blonde. He had his brother's ID on him, and he explained all of this away. He said that the cash was because he lent somebody some money, and then they paid him back in cash.
Now, this one's easy. You were dipping, you changed your hair color and all that. You had your cheddar.
He said he changed his hair color because he was hiding from the media. He said that he had his brother's ID because he gets a better discount at the golf course, and he was heading to the golf course.
Does he?
But he decided not to go because they had just found the bodies, and he thought it would look really bad on him if he was out enjoying a day of golf right after they found the bodies.
Those are some good stories. If his brother's ID really gets a discount and he's previously used that ID to get discounts, because I know if my friend was like, hey, let me get your ID so I go get some discounts, so I go ahead.
So a month before that, he had taken a business trip to Mexico. And he says it was just a business trip.
And he got a woman in Mexico.
But in my mind, it's also a really good opportunity to set yourself up in Mexico. So take it or leave it.
He doesn't know how to move to Mexico.
How do you not know how to move to Mexico?
I bet you
you drive across the border and then you disappear.
I bet you can't even speak Spanish.
You take $19,000 cash and you disappear in Mexico and you don't come back. What do you mean?
So if
people do it to come to this country all the time.
If I go to Mexico, $19,000, I can move there and not have to work no more. I'm in.
I mean, I don't know. There's a lot
I'm out.
I don't know what goes on in Mexico, but anyway, that's just something to think about. So his defense attorney was named Mark Garagos, and they did jury selection. And right after jury selection happened, Mark, his defense attorney, said, you know what? We need to move the trial to another part of California. We cannot have this trial in Modesto. But the media was everywhere. So honestly, he wasn't going to get an unbiased jury no matter where. He could have gone to Alaska. It was all over American TV. It was all over the world at this point. So he wasn't going to get an unbiased jury no matter where he went, unfortunately, for him. So the jury was also not sequestered, which I found weird because with the OJ trial, they were sequestered for 10 months.
What's sequestered?
It's when you have to go live in a hotel and you can't talk to your family.
For 10 months? You got to give me a lot. Do they pay you a lot of money?
I don't know if they pay you anything.
I'd be like, then he's guilty. Every time I walk out, I'm like, guilty, he's guilty.
Well, during jury selection, all you have to say is that you either hate cops or you're racist or something, and you can get out of jury duty.
I bet it's a little more than that because they know people can want to just get out of it by saying stuff like that.
I don't know.
But you know what I do with my jury duty things? I never respond. I'm getting them things for like, oh wait, shit. I might be snitching on myself.
Should I delete that?
No, I'm just kidding. I always respond.
I would love to do jury duty.
Not me.
I would. I would love it.
Because first of all, you can't go to work. Like, so you go to jury duty, and when you're done with jury duty, you come out and be homeless.
No. I mean, you're legally, you're allowed to get out of work for jury duty.
Yeah,
That's
but
how it works.
there's a lot of, like, say if you're a restaurant worker and you work on tips.
No, you're
So when
right.
you're not there, when the other person's serving them, hey, can you give some extra tips because the other person's at jury duty?
No, I know, Russ. I know. But I would love to jury duty because I'm interested in.
Will your job
So-
pay you?
I don't think so. No. I don't
Yeah,
think
so
we-
you're not allowed
I mean,
to
but I have
jury duty
PTO,
because
so-
we'll both be homeless.
No, I have PTO, so I could probably apply my holiday time or my paid time off. to
Why
that.
wouldn't you really want to go?
I don't know. Okay, we're going on a tangent. So
That's what I do.
So he ended up, the jury wasn't sequestered, which I found weird. I feel like they should have been, because they could easily just get on Google and talk to everybody they know, but whatever.
Maybe they couldn't spell sequester.
So Scott submitted a plea of not guilty. And like I said, this was full of circumstantial evidence, pretty much all of it. The prosecution had a shit case. The only physical evidence that they had was a few of strands of Laci's hair were tangled inside of a pair of pliers in his boat. Okay. That's the actual physical evidence they had. The other things that they brought up was all the lies and everything I talked about. And then a few bags of concrete were used to make 5 anchors, but only 1 anchor was found in Scott's boat. And the prosecution made it seem that he used the other 4 anchors to anchor down her 4 limbs. Okay. But the thing that stole the show and sealed his fate was Amber Fry and her recorded phone calls.
And she fried him because she is Miss Fry.
And all of her recorded phone calls that she made with him, or that he made to her. So the defense explained away all of it. They said, yeah, he's a shit husband. He's a cheater. He's a liar. He's like a total piece of shit, but he did not murder Laci. And they made it, they kind of played at that angle. Like they really wanted to say, we all know he's a piece of shit. Look at him. He's terrible, but he's not a killer. Okay.
Yeah.
So the defense discredited the boat idea because they put a 150-pound dummy in a boat similar to the one that he had and showed that if you try to dump a body off of the boat, that it's too much weight and the boat would capsize and he would have fallen out the boat would tip over. But they didn't use the same boat. And the prosecution said, okay, cool. You want to use this in court? Why don't we go down to the marina? We use the actual boat. We do this test. We film it, and we'll play that in court. And the defense said no. So that
why does the defense get to choose?
So that wasn't allowed in court.
They should.
So what the prosecution was trying to show is that they were trying to make it look like you couldn't dump a body off of this boat.
Good job.
But they didn't use the actual boat. So the other things they brought up were that December 9th was the day that his search history and his computer showed that he bought the boat. And it was also the day that Amber's friend said, you better tell her that you have a wife. And that's the day he said, I lost my wife. Remember I told you earlier?
Yep.
Also that on December 9th, he searched currents and tide reports for that part of the water. And people said, oh, it's because he wanted to go fishing. But then the prosecution said, no, it's because he wanted to see if he dumped a body there, would it wash out to sea or would it wash to shore? The Modesto PD, they didn't look at other leads. They focused solely on Scott. And this is something the defense brought up. They also changed a police report, which was a big deal. It showed that they kind of manipulated a police report. So one thing they changed was in one police report, but then in the other police report, they changed it. So the officer said, well, it was in that guy's report, so I didn't think it mattered if I changed it. But it still kind of looked fishy. Like they were angling the narrative towards Scott.
Of course. Once police officers get something in their mind that this person did it, they will most of the time they will stop at nothing to convict them, even if they have to twist
manipulate
things. Yeah, manipulate. Because right now, a lot of these facts are manipulated.
Well, no, not a lot of the facts are manipulated.
Well,
no,
the
that's
narrative
the wrong
is
thing to
manipulated to narrate or whatever the word, I don't know, because I'm not a wordsmith, but to make it look like he did it. And it's just circumstantial.
So one of the jury members was questioning a lot of these details to the rest of the jury. And the rest of the jury was apparently bullying this person. And because it would have been a hung jury if you don't have 12 jurors that agree. you're a hung jury, and then it becomes a mistrial.
Until recently, I always thought it was majority one. I didn't think that everyone had to
agree.
To agree.
Yeah. So this one jury member was getting bullied and ended up leaving the jury because they were just tired of the crap and tired of getting bullied, which is pretty interesting too. So on November 12, 2004, Scott was found guilty of first-degree murder of Laci and second-degree murder of Connor. And at the sentencing, Laci's family spoke. Her mother read a statement, crying her eyes out in front of the court and talking directly to Scott. And the entire time this woman was talking, he was smiling, talking to his lawyers and laughing. He wasn't even looking at her, which is just kind of rough.
Well, then
when you look at the footage of it,
so now
it's rough,
listen to this, though, because to me that also says innocence a little.
How?
You don't even let anyone talk. My statement.
I said how. I asked a question.
I was about to tell you how. My mouth was open and you screamed how. So this whole time, everyone's saying he's not remorseful. This whole time, he's calling these girls. He's watching porn. He's doing all this when he should just literally have his face in the pillow crying. It also shows that big things in his life don't affect him like that. He just got convicted of murder and is going away for the rest of his life, and he's taken that in the way you're saying right now, the same way he took his wife's death. He's taking it like, all right, like.
No, I'm telling you that that her mother is speaking to him.
Yeah, after he's already been convicted.
Crying her
after
eyes
he's already
out.
been convicted, right?
At the sentencing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. So I'm saying
I don't understand your point.
He's not super upset that he's being convicted either. Like this is how he handles tragedy. He doesn't handle tragedy like you do. You scream and cry. His tragedy is he's still acting exactly the same as he would as if there was no tragedy.
All right.
He's acting so now let me ask you this. If you were convicted and sentenced to life in prison, how you'd be like, oh my God.
Or I would just be sitting there blank, like unemotional. I would be emotionless, but I wouldn't be laughing and bullshitting with my lawyers.
But that shows he handles these type of situations like that. Big life-changing situations where his wife dies. He basically, when you go to jail, you're dying. You're just going to go somewhere and rot for the rest of your life. Or if they... You know what I mean? So he doesn't handle it like you do. People don't handle stress the same way other people do, and that doesn't make them guilty. So he handles stress in a different way, and this is shown right there after he's been convicted for the rest of his life.
Okay. I still don't agree with you, but whatever. So he didn't pretend to care about any of it.
That was the most I ever spoke in my whole life at one time. I'm out of breath.
His mom gets up, begs the jury not to sentence him to death, but he was sentenced to death. And it's pretty crazy when you look at the footage. It's kind of sick, actually. I don't think this is okay. But there is literally crowds of people outside waiting for this verdict. And when they hear that he's sentenced to death, they are all cheering,
and they don't know
jumping
what really
up
happened.
and down.
Get out of here,
like it's kind of sick, honestly.
It's like a lynch mob.
Yeah, it's definitely like a lynch mob. I found it a little sickening to see. I found it uncomfortable to watch when I looked at videos of it. But he's sentenced to death. People are cheering. It's kind of crazy. So he's been on death row, like I said, for 16 years.
He shouldn't be on death row.
He's maintained his innocence for 16 years. And his case is under appeal with the California Supreme Court. They have 19 claims arguing his innocence. And it has yet to be scheduled for oral arguments. So he's in appeals right now, but he's waiting for it to be scheduled for oral arguments.
Stay tuned for the Scott Peterson interview. I'm going to hit him up.
Well, now that you know everything you can know, I don't want you to go on some tangent. I want one answer. Guilty or not guilty?
You can't say.
How can you say guilty about Adnan, but you can't give me an answer, guilty or not guilty, about this guy?
Because now I'm seeing that his life, he was about to get sentenced to death, and he wasn't crying. The same way his wife was missing, and he handled it with the same emotion he handled that. So he doesn't handle.
Maybe he's just like a totally emotionless sociopathic person who doesn't care about anything.
Maybe. But all these reactions everyone wanted from him, that's not how he deals with tragedy. And that was obvious when he was sentenced to
But what
death.
about the phone call when he's at his wife's candlelight vigil talking to his girl?
Well, that seems like he didn't care that his wife was missing. But that didn't. None of this says guilt. I'm going to have to watch him and his mannerisms and how he talks and and how he answers questions about it personally without someone else telling me. Probably to come up with a Russ the profiler, whatever sentence, and I'll sentence him.
You don't know how to articulate sometimes.
Yeah,
like like a profile.
Yeah, I'm a profile him. I lost my train of thought sometimes. This was a long story.
Like I said, I went into this really trying to keep an open mind. I read and looked at and listened to so many sources.
You came in this so biased.
No, I came in biased at the end because you don't understand. For the last 4 days, I've been doing research. So you're hearing this for the first time. So at this point, I am biased. At this point, I do have a conclusion. But I came into this in the beginning 4 days ago with an open mind, and my mind, I came to the same conclusion that I was at back in 2003. This dude definitely did it. I believe he did it, and I just think they don't have enough evidence to prove it. I don't think he should be on death row. I don't even know if he should have been convicted of murder because they don't have the evidence to prove it, but I do think he did it.
I think it's sad how so many people are in jail without evidence.
It's true. There are a lot.
And then like sentenced to death without real evidence. Like if it's circumstantial evidence and you're going to put someone in, you can't kill them.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy to be sentenced to death. I agree with you.
I think to be sentenced to death, I need like a video of it.
No, I agree with you.
You got to show me something like there can't even be like the littlest doubt. Because in every case where everyone's convicted, not every case, but a lot of them, there's doubt. Like, all right, there's a slight chance he didn't do it, but maybe a 99% chance he did. So you shouldn't go to jail. I mean, you shouldn't go to death row.
Well, I definitely think that he doesn't have enough evidence to be convicted, but in my mind, you just can't be this emotionless. And
he had no emotions when he got sentenced to death row.
Don't care.
He doesn't have emotion.
Which makes me believe that he could easily kill his wife.
Or it makes me also believe his wife could have been killed and he wouldn't show emotions either.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever agree. All right, everybody. So let us know what you think about this. Comment on, I'm going to post about it, obviously, when I announce this week's episode. So comment and tell me what you think. Tell me if you totally disagreed with Russ or you totally disagreed with me.
You couldn't totally disagree with me because
anyone could totally disagree with you.
You just did. Shut up. I'm saying because I didn't pick a side, really. I'm kind of in between.
Okay. You're in between. All right.
So you can't disagree with someone's in between. You can. You're Jess the disagreer. Hashtag Jess the disagreer.
So everybody, check us out on Instagram at Wife of Crime Pod and wifeofcrime.com.
Yeah, wifeofcrime.com. We do got some merch. We got some dope hoodies like True Crime and Chill. What else? We got Stay Fit, Stay Alive. We got some mugs. So to get to that, go to wifeofcrime.com and at the top there's a merch link. Click the merch link and it'll get you there. Just keep clicking along. And then what else? Oh, rate and review us on iTunes and Stitcher and wherever you listen. Throw us like a 5-star.
Yes, please.
That'll be cool because it makes me feel like people like the show.
And it helps us get noticed.
We don't even know the algorithms. But if we see 5 stars, we're like, oh, that's cool. People like it.
It's true. It encourages us to keep going and keep making the show. All right, everyone. This was a long one, so hope you're having a good day, having a good commute. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Later.